and welcome back to my channel, which I have not used in a little while. So we're gonna talk about goals, of course, because everybody's talking about goals right now, and then a little bit about what my plans are, whether I'm going to try to continue to do this, and just kind of, general life update. So I will try and incorporate all of that into my goals. I'm a little chilly right now because I just got back from running and it's about 42 degrees out, and I, for some reason, I'm either always too hot, too cold, and I'd rather be too cold than too hot while I'm running. So just jumping in, let's start with general life. So the last year has been tough. Basically, I had a lot of stress with work. School can be a lot. I mean, just the fact that I'm in law school and working is difficult because my job sometimes requires a lot of hours. So I have had to do a lot to work on my mental health lately. And that's something I want to continue to focus on in 2025. Just making sure that I don't let myself get to that same point of getting burnt out and super stressed and just in general not feeling great. So a lot of my goals this year and kind of incorporate that to some extent, really focusing on things that are going to be good for me overall. And so that's going to play a role in a lot of things I'm doing, and just working on my mental health is an overall goal, because I can see a pretty sharp decline in it, basically starting around 2017. Basically the year I did my Ironman in 2016, and then starting in 2017 and forward, it definitely has never gotten back to that point where I was in 2016. And so I'm really trying to focus on things that are going to overall help me improve and get back to that point. So one thing that I am hoping will also help, and also just help me in general, with some other not goals, but plans I have for my future, is to work on not buying things. I know it's really easy, like if you see something and you're like, that seems great, I want that, or I could use that. I mean, I do that all the time. I have stuff around my house that like I do get use out of it, but is it like something I really needed to buy at the time? So one of my goals is actually to be very minimal with my spending on unnecessary purchases this year, and that can include both things as well as like food. So recently I've been eating out a lot because, again, work was a lot of hours, school was a lot of hours. I'd gone from, at the beginning of the year, I was cooking a lot of my own meals and kind of like cooking stuff that had leftovers, and then I was trying to use like a meal prep kit, and then I got rid of that because I ended up with too much food, and then I somehow just ended up ordering delivery food for half my meals, which is not a good direction to go. So that's going to be like, I can cut out spending on things like delivery food, or even things where like maybe I already have something and I could like reuse it. I bought extra, like for some reason, instead of just washing the microfiber towel I have on my bike, I bought extras. So just kind of trying to get out of that mindset of like, oh, I can just buy what I need, like can't find pairs of socks, so I bought more socks. Like trying to make sure I'm using what I have. And also not like getting as much like instant gratification out of buying things, because it is really easy to fall into a cycle of like, I'm not feeling good, I'm gonna buy something for myself. And that's just not a good cycle to be in either. So those are kind of two of my general life goals, and then that are more general. And then last thing I have that's not as general, but still kind of general everyday life, overall well-being, is that I do want to try and read a book a month. And a lot of people are probably like, oh, like a book a month's easy, like try a book a week. So I'm an extremely fast reader. While I was at my parents' house in Ohio, so I read a book on my way there, I read a book while I was there, and then I read a book on my way back, and that was the 24th to the 28th. So generally, I'm not going to have a problem with this goal, other than the fact that I do have school and work to balance as well. So I have a lot of reading for law school. It is the most reading I've ever had to do for school. So because of that, I figure a book a month is really a better goal, and hopefully I'll just like read at night to help me wind down. Promise, sometimes I get really into my books and I want to finish them that night, so I'm going to have to hold off on that a little bit and not let myself go down that rabbit hole. So those are all, again, just generally focusing on my well-being. And the next two also have to do with that. So that's work and school. So with work, I want to make sure I'm setting boundaries with work. And what I mean there is when I log off, I'm logged off. It's really easy when you're in a client-facing and deadline-driven role to kind of always be on, like always be checking my email. And I'm really trying not to do that as much. Because what happens is you're never actually, even though I'm only putting in like, even on a week I'm only putting in 40 hours, I'm probably putting in more than 40 hours just because of the time spent like checking my email on my phone in the morning, checking my email on my phone when I get home to make sure I don't need to log back on, sometimes logging back on to do stuff that could really wait until the next day. So I really want to make sure I am setting those boundaries and making it clear if I'm logging off at 5 o'clock, I am logging off at 5 o'clock, and people will not hear from me until the next day, because I do think flexible working is great because it does mean I can work 7:30 to 4:30 and get home in time for my 6 p.m. class. But at the same time, it also, because we have all these tools to work from home, have our email on our phones, it also makes it really tough to disconnect from work sometimes. So I'm going to work on myself and really making sure I do that, because I have a really big, I have a lot of trouble letting it go. And I blame my dad for that because he's the exact same way. So I'm going to focus on really with work, trying to make sure that when I log off, I am logged off. But also at the same time, because I want to do that, I have to make sure that I'm really on top of my workload and my deadlines to make sure that I don't suddenly have a bunch of stuff get like compressed and really make myself miserable. I ran into a lot of compression with some projects this year. It was miserable. And hopefully that's not going to happen this next year. And similar when it comes to not creating compression, that's my goal with school. So my goal with school is to finish all reading and case briefs by Sunday night. So my classes are going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday this coming semester, which is the same schedule I had last semester. And with that schedule, last semester I had a class on Thursdays that wanted all of our work done 24 hours before class, so they wanted it done by 6 p.m. on Wednesday. And a lot of us work full time, and then on top of that we have a class on Tuesday until 6, or at 6, so that really meant that we had to have it all done basically on Tuesday if you work full time, because I couldn't get it done like on Wednesday. I didn't have time to sit and do work because I didn't have time to sit and do school because I had work. So by setting this deadline for myself of Sunday having everything done, hopefully it'll help me avoid compression, because what I was doing was I'd get through the case briefs to get our asynchronous, so our online portion of my coursework done, and then I would put off the rest of the reading until Wednesday night. And then I didn't always do a great job of actually like briefing the other cases or really paying attention to my reading. So I'm hoping that by setting that deadline, it'll help me avoid falling into that same bad habit this year. So that's all general life. And if you can't tell, and I've talked about it, like this is all about just setting myself up to have basically improve my mental health and help me have time to do other things that are important to me. So one of those things being training. You can tell by when I post on YouTube, like my training is like off and on. Like I've been doing really good for a while. Like I was doing really good with the motive workouts at the start of this year, and then I fractured my hand, and that definitely, it's kind of a weird thing. You wouldn't think fracturing your hand while running would have that much of an impact, but it did really mess me up with running. Like I was so, like even now, I feel like I can't go as easy on some runs because I'll end up kind of shuffling and I'm afraid I'm going to trip again. Instead of just like picking like a goal race, which is what I've done in the past, and be like, this is what I'm going to train for, I'm going to do it backwards. So and that probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people, but for me, because my issue has been consistency and getting on a schedule that works with my job and school right now, that's why I'm going to focus on now until I figure it out. I'm going to figure out what a maintainable schedule for myself is. And then once I have that schedule, I'm going to figure out, based on where my training is, what goals I can set from there. And like, if I want to do a race, what races are going to be realistic. So from there, I do have 2 slightly more specific goals with training. So the first, I need to be on my bike plenty right now, because I have a class that my Monday night class ends in March. And so I'm hoping once we get enough daylight, I'll actually be able to lead a group ride this year from my shop. And the second one is very straightforward goal. I want to be able to do 10 push-ups from the floor. So I stopped doing push-ups when I was in high school, maybe middle school, because I have issues with my right shoulder. I have a lot of instability in that joint and I can injure it very easily. So, and my form was probably not good. I tended to dump weight into my shoulders when doing push-ups. So because of that, I tended to get injured and just stopped doing them. I was just like, I have a bad shoulder, I can't do push-ups. And I do feel like because I was a swimmer, so this was not generally somebody with a athletic training background, physical, like, I don't actually know what my swim coaches' backgrounds were. I know one was chemist, and I know one of the ones, and he was my coach, one was attorney. So because of that, I would say these aren't people with kinesiology degrees, and so even though they probably know what should be done, so as far as like what training is going to be beneficial for swimming, the form cues and like maybe improvements, like specific feedback maybe weren't always there. So no one ever really told me like, hey, your push-up form sucks, you should stop doing that, like as in stop dumping everything to my shoulders. So now that at least I'm not perfect, I don't have a degree in kinesiology, I don't have any sort of certifications, but I know enough to be able to correct my own form on it now, so I feel pretty confident that I can get to that point without actually injuring myself now, because I know how to actually engage my core. I am better with my hand position now. I already started working on this last week, so I feel like this is something that I can definitely achieve and do it correctly without injuring myself now, and it's just something I feel like being able to push your body weight is a good skill to have. And I also have seen a lot of trainers and people that also agree with that kind of one of those essential movements everybody should be able to do is to do push-ups from the floor. So that's all training. And then to support all of this, I do have some nutrition goals as well. I'm very much all or nothing with nutrition historically, so I can look back on some pictures from about 10 years ago where I was super lean, but I also, looking back on them, am aware that I was eating about, on a day I didn't train, I was eating about 1,300 calories, which not that my caloric needs are super high because I'm only 5'5", but they're definitely, and I was training a lot back then, they're definitely well above 1,300. So I'm really trying to focus on building good relationships with food, and to be able to do that, I'm not putting numbers to anything, but instead I'm going to focus on getting fruits and vegetables daily, so trying to incorporate fruits and vegetables into more of my meals. So one of the things I have in my house right now is blueberries and cottage cheese, so that I can incorporate that into my lunch. I had carrots and peanut butter as a snack yesterday. I'm cooking fake chicken and I'm trying to think what, I think I'm gonna do broccoli. I'm having baked chicken and broccoli tonight for dinner. So just trying to incorporate this more, get some micronutrients, get fiber because none of us eat enough of it, and overall hopefully help support my body in feeling good, rather than I tend to otherwise eat a lot of white carbs, which I don't have an issue with carbs. I love carbs, I think they're a wonderful thing. I could never do like a keto or low carb diet. So basically I'm just trying to incorporate more of those things that have different colors and micronutrients in them, but I'm still going to continue to eat bagels, breads, white potatoes, all of that. I also want to focus on drinking enough water, and actually I have right now next to me water with electrolytes. I'm not huge on drinking electrolytes like a lot, but I have been on medication recently that's a diuretic, so I feel like I need the extra electrolytes and the extra water. And again, that's just overall feeling good. If you're dehydrated all the time, it is going to wreak havoc on your body at some point. I know, like, I really did not feel good when traveling because I fly a lot now, and flying dehydrates you. I am shocked by the number of people that I've been on flights at 9 a.m. and they're ordering liquor. And I'm over here just like, can I get a water with no ice so that I can get as much water as possible? So, and then I still feel bad because I still cannot manage to drink enough when I'm at airports and on airplanes. So I'm just focusing on fruits and vegetables, getting plenty of water just to overall feel good and help me reach my other goals. And then I also want to try, I don't like meal prepping. I cannot eat the same food every day. I hate microwaving stuff for the most part, except very specific meals. So I do want to try and use my dinners on Saturday and Sundays to kind of help meal preps and stuff for the following week. So with my school and work schedule, there's essentially, I have school 3 nights a week, and then, so those 3 nights, I don't have time to actually cook a meal. And then I have on Wednesdays I eat with my grandma, so I don't have to worry about it. So I basically have 3 nights of dinner, and then I go to my office usually 2 days a week. So on those 2 days, I also need to bring lunch with me. So that's where I have about 5 meals at least a week that I cannot actively cook them and then eat them immediately. So that's where I'm hoping to be able to, instead of doing a full meal prep, I'm hoping to just kind of like make leftovers. So if I make like a pasta, like a ravioli, I usually can get like 3 or 4 meals out of it. If I make a stir fry, I can usually get an extra meal. So I'm hoping to kind of use those, like if I have one of those for dinner Saturday, one on Sunday, I can then take those leftovers and eat them throughout the week. So that's kind of my goal there, is to also, again, like that way I'm also getting those fruits and vegetables. But that way, again, just support like overall feeling good, because I don't feel great when I'm eating peanut butter and crackers and a bag of chips from the office every day for lunch. I also had a day this year that I literally forgot to eat lunch. Like I left my office at 4:30 because I had class that night. It was also a deadline day at work. And right as I got to the front of our office and was headed out the door, I realized I'd forgotten to eat lunch that day. And I was having a really bad week anyway, so I just kind of like broke down over not eating that day. And I cannot continue to let anything like that happen. So that's one of the other reasons I want to make sure I am prepared and have those meals ready to go. Hey, Deagle. Can you let Junie through? It's okay. Come on, Junie. Deagle, you go here. Come on, Junie. Oh, big stretch. Okay, that's your mom. All right, so wrapping up, what do all these goals have to do with YouTube and what are my plans? My plan is not much of a plan. I'm gonna try and post once a week, and it'll probably be combination like sit down videos where I'm talking like this, go through my week of training, go through food. Much more, I'd say I'm gonna probably stick to like very general things, and then I am trying to get myself away from some of social media, or at least away from like scrolling on the clock app, which I have now deleted. I am also working on writing a little bit more, so like I put up a new Try 101 blog post today, and I'm hoping with that to post the Try 101 series every week through January. And then I'm planning on trying to post one monthly through the end of the year, or until I run out of basic triathlon things to talk about. And then I'll keep this channel kind of more general, more vlog style, more what's going on. And the great thing is I don't really have to worry too much about like number of people looking, so I can post content I enjoy. I don't have to do clickbait because I cannot monetize this because of my job. So this is really just, it's fun for me in the end. And I enjoy talking about what I'm doing and sharing all of it, and maybe somebody gets something out of what I'm saying, like somebody else like me has maybe needs a somebody else like me does what I do and spends too much, and maybe this will also give them the idea to just have a goal of, when you're shopping, basically look at it and think, does this actually fulfill a need I have, or am I just making my life easier? Because usually for me, I'm just making my life easier with something I don't actually need. So I'm going to end this video here, and if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe below, and I will see you in the next one.